Hello and welcome to the Why Did You Write That podcast. I'm your host, Allison, and with me is the magnificent Telomnar and the more prosaically titled folklorist, Doughboy. Hello and welcome to the Just a second here. Having a few technical difficulties as always, but hopefully the show will go on. Oh no, Void Cat just lurked into frame. Okay, hopefully she'll keep her shenanigans to herself. All right, so today we are going to be talking about a Russian television show called No Man's Zone. And we're going to be looking at, well, I mean, this is the second sort of stream we've done on No Man's Zone because it was sort of a surprise initially to find out that it was quite well balanced, I would guess you might say. And so this is the second season. We've just watched the first season and the second season. And this second season we're going to review in the context of the first. And yeah, it's a surprisingly not bad show. So how well does it depict a feminist utopia? That's the question we'll be asking and answering. So stay tuned to get our opinions on that. And if you would like to send us a message at any time throughout the show, please do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Please don't start clicking buttons, Void Cat. That's not helpful. That is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Hopefully, we will get through the show without Void Cat canceling us because she likes how my keyboard lights up. It's sort of an LED keyboard and it has like a little rhythm thing that it's doing, and she seems to be quite intrigued by that. So we'll see if we can stay on the air. Void Cat will let us. All right, so to start off, Telomnar, why don't you tell us about the plot?
Okay, is this
there,
season one
Telomnar?
only or both seasons?
You're lighting up, but I am not hearing you. That is bizarre.
I am speaking.
Already beset by technical difficulties. Okay, let's see. Maybe I screwed up something here.
Okay.
Video capture device, Discord React, main scene. Audio output capture. Alright, try to speak again, Telomnar.
Testing.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there is an issue with the audio. Okay, guys, just hold your shorts. We're gonna fix this live in real time. All right, video capture device. I think that the audio capture device is the one that might have been screwed up. Let me see. Nope. Okay, let us see if audio capture. I'll get this done. I will do this before the cat destroys us all. I just have to remain calm and fix the microphone where it's coming from. Sorry guys, this is really crazy. Like, what the heck? What the heck happened? So I can hear you just fine. It's funny because I can hear you just fine. Can you guys hear him? Can you guys hear him at all? Like give me some feedback, chat. Chat, are you hearing this?
Testing.
Are you hearing Telomnar? Is it just me, or is it because I don't understand why I wouldn't be able to hear him. Doughboy, can you
hear him.
Yeah, I can't hear either of you. What the heck? What the hecking heck? Yes, you guys can hear him. Okay. So, no idea what's going on.
All right, well, now is my opportunity to
don't
out
know.
all
Wait.
of Allison's embarrassing
Void
secrets
Cat
without
was
her knowing.
on the computer. Maybe she hit something here. Just give me a second. Maybe she hit like a volume key. Let's see.
It'd be so embarrassing
Yes!
if I was just muted the whole time.
Yes!
Testing.
Void Cat hit the volume key. I was going through all of the audio settings. I'm like, oh, that's okay. What the heck is going on? No, she hit the... How did you do that? It's like you're out for these streams, dude. I don't even know how did you specifically hit the... Okay. She doesn't like competition for my attention, I think. That's the only explanation for this. All right, let's Telomnar, please take it away with the summary. I'm really sorry, guys. Like, I can throw her off, but she just jumps back on. All right,
Yes.
go
All
ahead,
right.
Tom.
Is this series one, first season only, or both seasons?
I think somebody asked for an overview of what we've seen so far. We can probably do that.
Okay.
Maybe give like a. I'll give I'll give a really quick rundown of the concept of this show.
Mhm.
Essentially, there is this femtopia called Two Hills, and it is run by women, and everything is sort of managed by women, supposedly. And beside it is a community of scroungers and refugees that they call primates, and they consider to be patriarchy, except they live in poverty, and all they can do is like while Femtopia has all of its things supplied, everything is beautiful, everything is clean. They have to scrounge in the remains of a civilization that died because the men died out, or most men died out. So it's basically a cultural conflict and a class conflict between the denizens of Femtopia and the unclean, uncivilized, scrounging community outside of Femtopia. And there's lots of stuff happens. It's surprisingly even-handed. I don't really think you can call that scrounging community a real patriarchy, but they do because a man leads it, which like that just there's a lot of societies where that happens, but I guess they're all patriarchies. After all, patriarchy is basically synonymous with the word society. All right, take it away, Telemanor. That's the basic premise.
Yes, indeed. So this is a post-apocalyptic world wherein a virus wiped out 90% of the male population during a war, and basically the women were not as affected, so they get to stay in well, as we call them, femtopias, which are these nice cities, of which there are various. We only see one in Russia, but they all have very advanced technology. They have AI assistants. They have fancy medicine, 3D printers. They control the weather, and they have a force field that protects the city. And they have other technologies that are perhaps a little more nefarious. And the people who live there don't seem to have any real jobs, and they all have um, these smart rings that they wear, which are like smartphones that they can also use to award or deduct social points to or from each other for basically whatever reason. Like you can just say something nice to someone and she'll give you social points, or you can make someone else feel uncomfortable, even if it's completely unintentional, and she can deduct social points from you. So it's totally arbitrary.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
add
So
something. You can deduct more social points than you can award. For some reason in
yeah.
this society, you can deduct something like 20 points at a time, but it can only award one. So really, it's actually really slanted towards, and if you think about it, these social points are money. So it's really slanted towards never getting anywhere with this money because these women are, so everybody is on pins and needles making sure they offend nobody, and you can't really get any much benefit from making people pleased with you, or doing something that people like. You don't usually get a lot of benefit, so it's like the odds are stacked against any kind of advancement in this system. But continue, Telemnar.
Hmm. Okay. So at early on, we see the female lead Rada takes some schoolgirls to see the primates in their native habitat. It's sort of like poverty tourism. The primates refer to themselves as Muscovites, meaning they live in Moscow. So they're just poking a little fun at the glittering city of Russia being a bunch of primitive, backwards yokels, essentially. I think that's the joke behind that. Anyway, she reads them a lot of propaganda about men are the cause of all wars, and when men were allowed to roam free, then women destroyed their own bodies to look beautiful, and there was fighting and there was pollution, and then the men died off and everything was immediately made perfect. We fixed everything. Rah rah, go girls. And then at one point, this schoolgirl uh, goes exploring, and she has to go after the schoolgirl, and then there's a meet cute with the male lead, Yara, uh, who is well, he gives her a kiss, and so one of the differences with the primates is they're poor, but it's a mix of men and women, and they're uh, much more normal acting. They're probably a lot more like stereotype of like probably a like Russian equivalent of a redneck or something like that. And we meet. So their system has this guy who calls himself the Baron. He's kind of like a warrior aristocrat who leads them in scavenging and in battle and like keeps all the best stuff for himself. But he's kind of he also makes the tough decisions and keeps order and keeps things more or less fair. I think he's supposed to be sort of a traditional Russian strongman, a little bit like a kind of the good version of that. And then uh, Guerra, the male lead, gets in trouble with him and has to run off and winds up smuggling himself into Femtopia. And he accidentally winds up replacing this other guy who is what is called a seed keeper, because they do have a handful of men that they trade around for the sake of their yield, if you like, who are like they're kind of pampered and treated very nicely, but no one takes them seriously when they say something. They're just there to produce what they're supposed to produce and maybe be a little charming to the ladies. Um, so he makes it to Femtopia, and he has a bunch of fish out of water experiences because suddenly he's in the lap of luxury and he's getting massages and nice drinks and hot bubble baths. And then at the very end of the episode, of the first episode, we witness his milking. It is quite awkward. And the
Lord.
seed keeper yes, the seed keeper he replaced also fell out of the vehicle they were in, and he stumbles back to Moscow, and he becomes one of them a little bit. Uh, so the city they're in, it has like a leader. They call her the mother of the city, and it's got judges and it's got stuff like that. And she's a very political person. All the other women seem to be like wandering around doing avocado toast jobs where they have day in the life of whatever girly, where they don't do very much other than yoga or make each other drinks. But she really seems to be like an actual politician. And there are more out of fish out of water experiences, but Guerra starts a kind of a social revolt amongst the other seed keepers because he doesn't think they're being treated fairly. He says, like, you're people too, you make decisions too. And they break some rules and they go out and they go camping and things like that. And they get in trouble for that, but they still do it. We meet this hair dyeing punk grandma who's the rebel of the city. She believes in love between men and women instead of pumping the seed out of the men and then inserting it into the eggs and having test tube babies. And she's a bit of a rebel and a bit of a unstable element. And then towards the end of another episode, we find out that the city mother, the ruler of Femtopia, is banging the Baron from Moscow. So there's something going on here that's below the surface. Guerra gets caught as an impersonator. They figure out he's not who he says he is. He tries to escape, and then he gets imprisoned. And he gets a trial, and we see they have, like, it's basically an extremely flawed justice system. It is definitely not one that we would like. And the seed keepers actually try to go on strike to get their way, to get him not imprisoned. Because what they're going to do is hook him up to a VR machine. It's how they punish everyone. They hook your brain up to a VR machine, and they put you in whatever scenario they wish to put you in, and then you're stuck there forever.
Mm.
Um, in the meantime, back in Moscow, the guy from the city who stumbled his way there talked them into holding an election, and then he wins the election to kind of a little to everyone's surprise. And then he finds this one of those smart rings, which is the one that the Baron was using to get in touch with the ruler of Femtopia. And so things get a little, the plot thickens, as they say.
Mm.
Um, Guerra doesn't get sentenced permanently because he kind of gets released under the care of Rada, because of course you can always appeal to sentiment. You can always appeal to, oh, he didn't know any better. He was just stuff like that in this kind of system. and it might always work. So he gets released, but then he decides to run away again from the city and escape because he doesn't belong there. He doesn't feel at home. He doesn't feel like anyone likes him, which they mostly don't. Uh, and then we're reaching the end of the first season. The Muscovites, the primates, attack the city, and they don't actually do much. They just sort of make yelling noises and kick over some garbage cans, and it's enough to panic all the women,
It's
and then the whole
adorable.
city.
It's
Yeah.
adorable. They go
Then
around going grrr, grrr, literally. And they're running away from like the gayest. I know we're not allowed to say that because it's Russian TV, but the artist is a bit on the flamboyant side. But he
oh,
inspired
not
some.
that much. But I've hung out with a lot of musicians, so I think he's just like
He's just
musical.
fine. He's just musical.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
musical
gotcha.
guy, and he's got a really nice head of hair. So come on,
He's very proud of it.
be more open-minded about what men are allowed to be, Allison. Anyway, um, where were we? Right. So they do their silly little attack, and then the whole city goes into a lockdown, and this actually starts to reveal some of the darker side of the city because Guerra also came back in during the attack, and he's with his girlfriend Rada, and they're in a house, and during the lockdown, the AI locks them in their own house and says, "Yeah, you can't get out. You're stuck in here." So it's kind of like the most terrifying smart home. It's a luxurious AI-run smart home until the AI decides to turn it into a prison for you. Um,
Yeah.
there is a hostage scenario involving the Baron at the maternity center, which is the most important place in the city because it's where they produce the test tube babies. And then he and a couple of other people get out of there, but all the rest of the primates, including Guerra, are recaptured. And this time, they don't take them to trial. They take them to the slave camps because there are slave camps. And this is basically how the city runs. They get all their resources from the slave camps, and then they can the women just get to consume them.
Yeah, so there's a bit of
So
a ugly underbelly to this.
and we're only seeing half of it. So
Yeah.
there is the remaining primates who are at liberty, at large, whatever. They start plotting an escape, and they discover, among other things, that the Femtopians are working hand in glove with some other primates, some guys who showed up at their place and pointed a gun at them and made them do stuff. So they're not keeping a big separation here. They're playing them off against each other, like the Chinese with the Western barbarians all those centuries ago. Um, and also, we discover that the prison camp is a getaway for the elite of the Femtopia system. It is an extremely decadent place. They have a full-time crazy dominatrix who cuts out your tongue if she doesn't like how you use it, literally, and makes her boy toys dress up as dogs. Uh, just in the leather kind of way, not in the furry kind of way. That would be really wrong, but you know. So yeah, and then the Baron kind of heroically jailbreaks them, and you kind of uh, it makes you like him. He's kind of he's an asshole, but he's our asshole. Is basically the character that he embodies. Kind of cool. So that's the end of season one. Season two is a bit different because basically a bunch of the boundaries have been broken. So we've got like let's see. So they sort of start to live together a little bit. They decide that uh the Muscovites and the Femtopians should, and this is in like the first episode, should live together. Or the Baron tries to convince them of this because things aren't going so well in his part of the town, part of the neck of the woods, whatever you want to say. And then they do wind up doing that. And so then you have culture clash, and you have these not very civilized people who are trying to live in this ultra, or one might say, excessively civilized city. And so problems ensue, and they're trying to reintroduce the concept of romantic love to the women there, and it kind of goes up and down, and they have, let's see, they try to introduce them to the concept of eating meat a little bit, and which is also a big no-no. And let's see, things get complicated because how to put it? Once, well, let's see, gotten to the point where they're living there. Um, they want to have a marriage at one point, and this is Guerra, like the lead Moscow guy, except he winds up trying to marry this other woman who is not Rada, who is, they've sort of had an on again, off again thing. And then suddenly there's a lot of jealousy there. So one of the consequences of this jealousy is that she insists on also wanting to marry him at the last minute, and therefore she does. And he is now in a state of bigamy. He is simultaneously married to two different women. Oh my God, it's not as much fun as you think, because she is jealous and unhappy, Rada is, and she starts developing a drinking problem. So definitely a Russian story. And let's see, we start to see that they basically start to, the two wives, that is, start to kind of compete with each other, and they start to bring that head decadent politician woman who gets in trouble after the last series and is imprisoned. She gets loose. He convinces them to. They decide she's going to come in handy, and they let her go, and she's not in charge anymore. But people listen to her because she has solutions for problems. And then, so let's see. The plot progresses. They have their equivalent of the Olympic Games. There's
with the seed keepers.
yeah, the seed keepers only are allowed to participate. It's the men only Olympics,
And the funny thing
and they
is
have,
that the seed keepers in Femtopia are super strong. Like
oh yeah, they're Ubermenschen.
completely
They're
passive soy boy Ubermenschen.
yeah, it's kind of weird. And so the problems start to develop, and we start to with the AI this time, it starts to become kind of unreliable. We see some backstory before the plague, and we see that the AI was designed by this coder who is actually this guy who is 100 years later still living in um, among the Muscovites, and he has a girlfriend who is the punk-haired granny, actually, of
No,
all
no,
people. They're
yeah.
both,
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. The creator of the AI was
yep,
the boyfriend of the punk-haired granny.
yep, when they were young. Yep. And they haven't seen each other for a century, and they both aged pretty well. Her better than him. But still, I mean, if I was 120, I was in that guy's shape, I'd be pretty happy. So,
No doubt.
um, yeah. So, the plot gets a little, I mean, convoluted, but also not at the same time. So I'll just summarize it to say they realize the AI is a danger, and they decide they have to destroy it. And it kind of figures out that they're trying to destroy it. And then it decides to fight back against them. And it says, you bring me my boyfriend that I had a crush on, because she had a crush on the hacker who designed her, like, because, daddy issues. And do that or I'll burn your cities. I'll go full Skynet. And so he goes there in an attempt to uh, defeat the AI. They can't hack it. They try with the virus, but he says, okay, well, what I'll do is I will join you in the cloud as you wish, and I will sort of cease to exist in the corporeal world, because it turns out the AI runs a sort of cloud server where um, people can just get themselves disintegrated once they die and live young and happy forever out in the cloud. And he doesn't quite do that, but he almost sacrifices himself. It's very close. He's like just barely doesn't live, or barely does live. Excuse me. And let's see. The primate, yes, the Moscovites attack the city again, and they threaten the woman in charge to release the Baron that she captured and imprisoned again earlier. She's kind of keeping him prisoner because she wants him under her thumb. and then they rescue him, and they rescue. Let's see. There are a bunch of Schwarzenegger references where they have to fight one of the seed keepers back in Moscow. It's not important because he turns evil because he's controlled by the AI, and then this stops happening. But whatever. And yes, and so what happens is the grandpa who almost died was saved because the pit was closed at the very last moment, basically by this new element. We see these behind the scenes like programmers type guys.
Tech bros.
Yes, yes, who seem to be running the AI that is running the show. So what on earth is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the very end of the last season, of the second season, that is, the hacker guys get in touch with the CEO, who is giving orders to the grandpa programmer who made the AI originally 100 years ago, and they tell him, hey, something's going on with the AI, you need to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
He says, man, I haven't had to deal with that in 100 years. And then he goes and gets involved, and that's the end of the show.
Yep. So in essence, Femtopia was built by men and apparently is maintained behind the scenes by men. Go figure.
The slave labor seems to be whoever makes trouble enough. So both sexes. But low status people, that's the important part.
No, I mean behind the scenes, like the tech bros are the ones running Femtopia.
Oh. Yeah.
So
it's
that's
them,
why.
But I'm also thinking of the slaves.
That's why all of the jobs are avocado toast jobs. And they have a lot of, like, all these women do is like run and yoga and volleyball and incredibly bland asymmetrical fashion and like relational aggression. That's their entire day. And it's because there are men behind the scenes maintaining everything. I mean, they might go somewhere completely different, but that's the implication, that when we see the tech bros who are dealing with the infrastructure that maintains Femtopia, that the implication is that it was men, or that at least this man. And what's interesting about this man, this mysterious CEO of Femtopia, is that he threw a party when he found out all the other men were going to die. He was thrilled that they were gonna that half the human race was going to die, because he said to Grandpa, the grandpa who coded the AI, who ended up being central to Femtopia, he said, you know, we're gonna this is a great time because we're going to become very valuable. So he's like cheering on and celebrating the death of all these men, and subsequently the death of a significant portion of the human race, because he figures he was going to make a lot of money. Although, I mean, again, he's another character, sort of like the original female leader of Femtopia. I think her name translated means Faith. He's like Faith. She is despicable, but at the same time, she's got sort of a fun, amusing quality. She's despicable, but she's despicable with the kind of style and gusto. And
there's a French phrase for this, then, that it translates to a certain I don't know what.
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's just she's horrible, but she really enjoys it. And the guy who made Femtopia apparently is also really horrible, but he seems to really enjoy it. And it's hard not to vicariously, be like sort of amused by that.
There is another French phrase for that as well. The joy of life, or living. The joy of living. Joie de vivre.
Joie de
Je ne
vivre.
sais quoi.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
The
So
French have a phrase for everything.
those two characters are fun
Aside
to
from
watch.
finishing the work on time.
Those two characters are really fun to watch, just because they're...
But yes, very strong, charismatic on-screen presence. As compared to the female romantic lead.
Oh, God! Oh, man! Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the villainess, has gusto for life, and the female romantic lead just drags herself around like a bag full of bile. Just like... And it's like, I don't want to watch this person. She hates everything. She's disapproving and contemptuous of every living thing in her sight. And then she gets dick and improves somewhat. I wonder what the heck they're saying about that.
Based in red pilled.
Based in red pilled. She gets some vitamin D and significantly improves in her character.
Yeah. You can look at all over the internet. They all say, all the health websites say vitamin D is good for you. So
exactly.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, get that vitamin D, single ladies. And yeah, so she's although she does end up sort of treating him like the main male character as a bit of a sexual convenience, probably because she's been imprinted on like vibrators that she doesn't.
Yeah, the economy of Femtopia seems to revolve around periodically selling people the latest
vibrator
super vibrator
or bicycle.
Lily of the Valley Model 6 now with LEDs.
Mm-hmm. And flexible form.
Oh yeah,
conforms to yeah, your inner workings, shall we say. God damn. All right, so the question before the court. Well, I guess we could go over like plot characterization really briefly. Let's not get too far into it because let's face it, this show is utterly bonkers. I think that's fair to say, eh? Don't step on my keyboard. It's just all over the place. Okay, so let's go with plot. What do you guys think of the plot?
It's charming but inconsistent.
Well, I suppose it is science fiction comedy, so there's going to be some serious zaniness, shall we say?
Oh,
yeah.
Doughboy, fight back on that one.
Fight back.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, yeah, the zaniness. I can go with the zaniness. The problem I have is that I feel like the storyline isn't handled consistently across episodes. Like the last episode of season 1 and the first episode of season 2 start with the AI essentially declaring genocidal intent against the primates.
Yes, that was a problem.
And then that disappears for like 5 episodes. And in the meantime, we have to deal with the weird love pentagon between Gira, Rada, Lucius, Rada's gal pal, and the one psycho seed keeper. Ulick, I think his name is.
Yeah, Ulick. Ulick, the very inconsistent. Ulick, who she switches personalities faster than some people like switch shirts.
Ulick, he was imported from the town of Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, nobody knows what causes the switch to turn in Ulick's brain, but boy, does it turn quickly.
Convenience.
Yeah, narrative convenience.
At one point, I think they figured out this was a problem because at one point they say, okay, the AI is remotely taking over, it is reprogramming him, and I don't know if it's like direct control or it's just causing him to want a specific thing and then he does it. But they do cover that at one point, but that seemed to me like something that was that they worked in at the last minute and after they'd already realized their the problem of having him change channels like that, or however you want to express it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
and,
also a little...
I would also...
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I would just like to point out a very important thing, which is that the Badger-in-Chief's objection to the genocide was not on a moral basis, just that it was handled improperly from a narrative perspective. Because that's what we're all about here.
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, it just, like, they did really good hooks in this series. So that's one thing I'll say with their plotting was well done. The thing is that you start to feel a little bit, I don't want to say betrayed, but disappointed when a hook sets up something really great and then it just fritters it away. So essentially, the end of the first season, the old Femtopia leader who was engaging in sex trafficking and slavery of the men outside of Femtopia She gets
which I don't think gets referenced again after
no,
that episode.
no, it doesn't get referenced again after that episode, which is sort of ridiculous, but whatever. She gets deposed, and she's put in the execution chamber, which is basically like being hooked up to VR for the rest of your life, and she gets replaced by sort of a bit of a weak female leader. Like the other woman was absolutely morally awful, but at least she could make decisions and advance interests. She gets replaced by a woman who's very milquetoast, shall we say. She's very incapable of making a strong decision. And this woman gets browbeaten by the AI to declare that they need to genocide the men who live outside of Femtopia because apparently the men haven't changed in a century. And I'm like, bitch, please. You guys were the ones who engaged in sexual trafficking of the men and also slavery, not just of the men, but also your own people, in order to maintain this apple-based graft, which makes sense in context, but I'm not going to explain. Like, this villainess is the one who's responsible for all that, and somehow the AI turns that into, oh, she was corrupted by the evil male primates. I'm like, no, she's responsible for her behavior. They were victims of her. So that's really convoluted, dumbass logic. Like, but I've seen it many, many times. We just read it today. In there was I don't know if you guys know, but there was a series of sexual assaults of men at a dark romantasy convention, including a group, like a gang, sexual assault of one of the cosplayers at that convention. And then there's a whole bunch of sexual harassment going on. And I just read a blog post by a place I think called Fic Bitches, who somehow she starts with this ugly thing that happened, and somehow she weaves it into women are victims of toxic masculinity because they grope men, or no. When women grope men, it's because they've internalized toxic masculinity. And also the real victim of these guys being sexually assaulted and harassed is the community. Because now there's people pointing fingers and saying, hey, you need to do something about your community. And she has the audacity to say that men wouldn't have this kind of oversight. After what, 12, 15 years of men having every aspect of their sexuality picked apart and condemned, and these feminists having to have like committees come together to monitor their behavior at these conventions. Like, and it's not even like, this is a bunch of women who sexually assaulted and harassed men at this convention, right? Okay, and she's upset that now people are saying, hey, that's no good. There's now there's a little bit of pushback against this. And she's like saying men wouldn't have that. And yet she's part of a movement that's been doing that for men's interest in attractive women, for men's interest in attractive women in games, for men's interest in narrative structure that doesn't suck. I mean, we've had to deal with men being, all of that being implied to be consistent with rape culture. Like, there's been so much condemnation of men's interests, so, at men's jokes. Like, I remember Elevator Gate. Like, a man just went into an elevator and asked a woman, hey, would you like to come back to my room for coffee? And that launched a whole bunch of, oh, don't do that, guys, that makes women uncomfortable. And then also Dongle Gate. Like, two guys were making dongle jokes. Oh, I got a big dongle. And they were talking about their USB dongles. And some woman overheard it. And then another wave of, oh, don't say those things, man. That's offensive. You're using these sexualized jokes to make women feel uncomfortable in your communities. And it's a microaggression. And then what was the other one? The man who landed a meteor, like a satellite.
He landed a space probe on a comet, I think.
Yeah, and he wore a shirt with pinups that his friend made him, his female friend made him, to celebrate this. And then what happened? Oh, he had to apologize He was breaking down in tears, apologizing to the finger-wagging women who were saying that shirts with pinup models on them. Dongle jokes, asking women to go for coffee in an elevator. All of these things are part of rape culture, and they need to be controlled.
Let's not forget the Don't Be That Guy campaign and the Me Too movement.
Well, I mean, that could even conceivably be being totally charitable about actually sexual assault, right? That could conceivably be about actual sexual assault. But they were putting oversight in, condemning men, targeting them for this kind of stigmatization over dongle jokes, pinup shirts with pinups on them, and asking women out in elevators. This is what men had to deal with. The condemnation of completely innocuous behaviors. And this woman is feeling a little bit pushed back because at a convention whose concept that apparently she likes, a whole bunch of women engaged in sexual assault, and people are like, whoa there, Nessie, Nelly, whatever. Like, maybe you should put the stops on that. And she's like, oh my God, we're being targeted. Yes, because your freaking community is horrifying. And this woman even quoted another woman who was part of the community earlier, and this has been a problem with romance fiction conventions. Harassment and sexual assault of male talent has been a problem with these conventions since time immemorial, right? And this other woman wrote about how this is a problem with the community. This woman published this and then had the audacity to say, our community is being targeted. Just like freaking nonsense. But where the hell was I? Oh yes, the end excuse made was that the primates, the men, were responsible for tainting the women and tainting this villainess and making her sex traffic them and enslave them, because that's patriarchy. So they were influencing the woman to bring back patriarchy, of which they ended up being the primary victims of, and they're the ones who need to be genocided. And I'm like, good golly, Miss Molly, that is absolutely 100% accurate. I didn't expect to get to the answer there, but I see that so much. Instead of taking responsibility, they blame men, even when men are victims. It's insane. Okay. But that was the reason why I was bothered by the genocide is that I felt like they should have concluded in a way that sustained the tension instead of destroying it. Because if you're going to end on a hook, you should build from that hook, not just unbuild the hook. You get what I'm saying? And they unbuilt the hook, which was just very unsatisfying. I mean, if you're going to say genocide, then go through with it. But on the other hand, I realize it's a comedy, so it's unlikely that we are going to actually see, any kind of genuine genocide in a comedy. It's probably not going to happen. They're probably going to, just walk away from it. So anyway, that was the whole thing about genocide. I thought they were setting something up really interesting, but they walked away from it. But I understand because it's a comedy. Genocide, I mean, they did do sex trafficking, sex torture, and mutilation, and slavery. But I guess genocide can't be a topic that they cover. All right. Did you guys want to add anything to the plot discussion?
I would like to expand on what Doughboy said, because I basically agree with him, because you described the plot as it's a science fiction comedy, yes, and it's zany, yes, but just because a plot contains zaniness doesn't mean it can't be consistently written. Like you have.
Oh no, I agree.
Yeah. So so one major problem you pointed out is almost every episode starts with an amazing hook, which basically means something happens that is we can clearly see is going to have serious, interesting consequences in the next episode. Like we discover that the Baron and what's-her-face, the mother of Femtopia, are sleeping together. or we discover that the seed keeper who got lost in Moscow just won the election, or all sorts of things, or various others. You get the idea. But they extremely often ended on a hook that implied that something amazing is going to happen, except then we never really see the long-term overall consequences of this. So the problem is this show is as much social commentary as anything else. It's not a science fiction show where you go flying off into space in the world of aliens and you meet them. It's a show where it's like, what if in the far future humans had these technologies and lived in these circumstances with these beliefs? And so the problem is, if you have things happening in the show like the seed keepers wanting to be treated like more than cattle, and maybe wanting to actually have sex with a human being instead of a glorified vacuum cleaner, then, well, you have that sort of happen for one or maybe two episodes, and then it kind of goes away, and it's never addressed again, and their role doesn't change, and they fade back into the background almost all the time until they decide to make them get violent just spontaneously for no reason. You have like people get arrested, like the head politician woman gets arrested, and it's discovered that they're keeping slave labor in the prisons, and they have been for a long time, maybe the whole time since the war, for all we know. Never go into that. And, well, nothing, there's just no mention made of this ever again. They're keeping sex slaves, including at least one that they've mutilated, and no mention is made of this either. The character never comes back, certainly. They've been making deals with the various primates. Like, she's been banging the Baron, but they've been making deals with other groups of primates to do things like raid the Muscovites to keep them weak, powerless. And, well, nothing ever comes from this. Nobody faces any consequences. This is never brought up. So the plot is trying to be long arcs, and in some ways, occasionally, sometimes stuff happens that is, but a lot of the time it might as well be episodic, because something happens, and then in the next episode, or maybe two episodes later, almost everything is back to normal. And this keeps happening until arguably the Muscovites move into the city. And then things do start to happen a little bit as a group when they move into the city, but that's all the way in the second season. And that's almost the only thing of significance that's happened. There's a lot of stuff that's happened, but none of it is very consequential, particularly. Like, they just kind of go back to the way things were. Like, Gera sneaks his way into the city, has fish out of water experiences, gets milked for his manly man juice, and stuff like that, and then gets caught and escapes, and winds up going back to the city later on, and continues to have more fish out of water experiences because they're just okay with him being there again. So it's sort of a lot of the same stuff happening multiple times. And eventually, when the Muscovites move there, things start to change a bit, but then just have some fish out of water experiences, and they want to be noisy and have markets, and they don't know where to put their garbage and stuff like that. And then like, the marriage actually would be something that matters, except then very quickly the marriage is broken up with the other girl, whose name we don't remember but has way more of a personality than Rada. And so maybe in season 3 things will be different. We can at least watch some of it. But as far as the plot goes, unfortunately, a big problem with this for me was, well, okay, you see these hooks and they look so cool, but you stop caring after a while because it's not going to change anything.
Yeah. It's great hooks.
Not going to change. Yeah.
No follow through.
The status. Yes, you're not going to change the status of the seed keepers. You're not going to create a schism, maybe, because some women think, wait, actually, this romance stuff is kind of nice, and when he compliments me, I can tell he means it, and he's not just doing it for the social points. Things like, and maybe they'll want to change things. Like, they in theory are going to donate stuff to help the Muscovites, donate some technology to them, but they wind up thinking, like, they could donate to them a 3D printer that could vastly improve their circumstances, or things like that, and completely change the game for them, or give them a permanent electricity source, or something like that. Except they wind up, maybe they didn't have the budget, but they wind up not doing that, and they just get them some ridiculous gifts and give them a figurative, like they go through a little humiliation ritual that they don't know what it is, which is they bend over and moon the Muscovites by way of apology for something they think they did that wronged them. So it's silly and it's funny, but it would have been way more interesting to say, wait a second, the Muscovites are starting to have some technology of their own, and that would really change how the world works, wouldn't it? Because they might, well, who knows? But no, that would be consequential, and we probably don't have the budget, so we'll just show a bunch of attractive women bending over or something. Yeah, it's so unfortunately I'd have to give it not a great score plot-wise.
Yeah.
It's I would also like to add we are 26 episodes in by the end of the second season, and it really feels like probably cut out like a third of those or half of those, because so much of it is just, oh, fish out of water event, oh, fish out of water event, or oh, we're trying to figure out how romance works, oh, we're trying to figure out how romance works, and then we're not interested in each other anymore, and now we are interested in each other again, and now we're not anymore. Is there a reason for this? Not particularly. So I feel like a lot could have been cut out, or a lot could have been perhaps dwelt on in a more interesting way. Either way, unfortunately for plot, cool idea, but I don't think they handled it well.
All right. So I don't think we'll do dialogue because, for obvious reasons. And
well, I would actually like to say something about the dialogue.
Okay, go ahead. All right, I guess I spoke too soon.
Yes, none of us speaks any Russian. We got these AI-generated subtitles. I think they're AI-generated. And they did the job most of the time. But you could really tell the difference between the delivery of characters like Rada, the lead female actress, and the Baron and the Utopia politician lady, whose name I don't remember anymore either. Like, they delivered their lines often with like a huge amount of charisma and color and character. Even if you don't have the subtitles on, you still, like, you're getting a lot of emotion through the screen. They can really act. So that doesn't tell us anything about the writing. But, well, no, I think it does tell us something about the writing, actually, because you can't, if the writing is really terrible, I don't think any actor could consistently do that. So, yeah, I think they probably did a pretty good job. But, of course, also, since it's a comedy, it's very difficult to translate a lot of the plays on words.
No doubt.
Which I'm sure are in there.
Although I had a few moments where I laughed out loud.
Oh yeah.
There's some funny stuff in this show.
There is.
Okay, so that's the dialogue. Let's look at character. Now, my big problem was inconsistent characterization of Lucius. No, Julius. Julius.
Crazy seedkeeper.
The absolutely crazy seed keeper who just ping pongs between being completely docile and just turning into a monster. And I wonder if the joke is that the alcohol does it to him. But periodically he just turns into a complete dick. And it's confusing why this happens. I mean, we probably have to talk to Remy's. Maybe there's something that's lost in translation. There's like a comedic trope in Russia about alcoholism and turning you into like a horrible caricature of yourself. I don't know. Maybe there is. But
I always thought it was... Oh, go ahead.
But it doesn't really translate. So go ahead, Doughboy.
I thought it might have been satire about how this man, who's essentially lived in a female-dominated environment his whole life, doesn't know how to handle either his liquor or his attraction to women in a healthy way.
Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. Although he's only attracted to one woman. And then you have Lucian, no. Is it Julius, sorry. Who is, like, one of the amusing things is he's the most bizarre take on a vertice of a love polygon that I have seen yet. Because he doesn't know what he's doing. That's the sense I get. Like when Gara, who's the main character, is in this threesome relationship with Radha and her friend, whose name escapes me, and Radha's friend, he ends up going to Radha and having, or at some point when Radha's in a relationship with Gara, Julius goes to Radha when they're having a falling out because Radha doesn't understand that Gara can't perform like a mechanical object and has feelings, and he's dealing with the fact that the leader has declared genocide on his people, and he's like not really feeling it, and she's getting increasingly agitated with him because she wants, he's given her the D and she can't get enough of it or something. And Julius goes to Radha and basically says, the way that you're going to fix this is by having sex with me. And I'm just going to do it because I want my friends to be happy. And there's no sense that he actually doesn't genuinely believe that. You know what I mean, guys?
Yep.
Because
that diagram convinced me.
He's stupidly wholesome.
Yeah. There needs to be a new quadrant on the moral axes, like chaotic good, chaotic evil, good versus order versus chaos, evil versus good. There needs to be a quadrant devoted to stupid wholesome. Because
chaotic naive.
Julius is stupid wholesome. Because the other thing he does is like he seduces Radha, sorta, with a PowerPoint of how, friendship. This is the friendship is magic, Radha. That's why you need to jump on my deck. And he does that, and then later on during this fight, because Julius and then the other one is what is it? No, that actually it's not Julius, is it? It's who's the guy Lucius? No, Lucian. Lucian is the one who seduced Radha. Julius is the one who has an unhealthy Uliak is the one who has an unhealthy obsession with Radha. Right? Okay? Because later on, after Lucian seduces Radha with his PowerPoint, and because power of friendship, he wants his friends Radha and Gara to get along again, and he figures if he fulfills Radha's sexual needs, then Radha won't be putting so much pressure on Gara, and that will make them come together again and love each other again. That's the way he was thinking. It's crazy. So he has sex with Radha, and then later on, Uliak gets into this mode where he's going to attack Gara for Radha, and Lucius ends up, he puts like war paint on and then kicks the crap out of Uliak to protect Gara and Radha, and it's the same impulse that had him seduce Radha is the same impulse that had him protect Gara when Uliak was going after Radha and wanted to kill Gara to get to Radha. And Uliak could do that because he's got superhuman strength. So Lucius protects them and then gets them to run off. And it's the same motive, guys. And it's the funniest vertice in a love polygon I've ever seen. Like that.
It's also interesting in that when he realizes that Gira's unhappy with him fucking his wife, he actually tries to apologize for it.
I thought I was helping! can't even bring himself to be angry at Lucian. Did you notice that? I think, well, maybe he did at some point. Did he actually get angry at Lucian?
Yeah, he kind of like brushed
he
him
did.
off and ignored him for a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, he could have gotten a lot more angry. Like
Yeah, he didn't go full Ulick.
he didn't go full Ulick. Never go full Ulick. But he didn't Oh man, that was freaking hilarious, that whole thing. And the conflict between the women over him was so ridiculous too, because it was more like two girls fighting over a doll than anything. It was
Well, Rada kind of, she almost goes full Ulick. She tries to kill her friend. Like, she actually does take, what is it, an axe and tries to hack her in the head.
This is after drinking a little bit, though, in her defense.
Oh
But yeah,
god,
she
that's
was
a
going to
defense.
go all out.
Yeah, she Oh my god. What a freaking it has
Piece
it
of
has
work.
it has its amusing moments, and this is probably why I let the sex trafficking and the slavery and the sex torture slide, because the violence is comedic in this show, but I think they are trying to say something. But anyway, so what are you guys' thoughts on character? Do you have anything that stands out for you?
So if I analyze the series seriously, I can't say that any of the characters are particularly well written because they can be so inconsistent. But if I just accept the slapdash nature of the show, then they're totally fantastic.
They're always entertaining.
Yes, they're not always consistent or act like real people, but they're always fun to watch.
Yeah, it's I'm afraid that Richard failed in his mission to create something that is just horrifying to respond to. That just makes you want to die. No, this is actually sort of funny and amusing. Okay, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's really hard to talk about character when basically the character is whatever they need to be, as long as it's funny. Just like the Roger Rabbit line, I can only do it when it's funny. These characters only have characterization when it's funny. All right, so what's theme?
Hey, do I get to talk about character?
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay, can't tell him, or you can talk about character.
Okay. I would actually like to say that all of the secondary characters were really good, and the two leads were pretty bland and boring to a ridiculous degree. And agreed with Doughboy on the inconsistency thing. They are not written consistently, but also agree with him when he says, if you just enjoy it for what it is, you say, you know what, they're going to be written inconsistently, just enjoy it episodically and pretend that you don't spot the weird, crazy inconsistencies, then yeah, you can really enjoy the Baron just going all out with some speech, or really being incredibly happy that he has mismatched shoes, but one of them crocodile skin, or whatever. Or you've got the terrifying psycho leader of Femtopia, who has, like, she has this smile she can put on that's like halfway between politician trying to get your vote and shark that's about to attack you. Like, it was good. I was looking at that and I was thinking, oh man, I hope they make her character some terrifying nemesis, because she looks scary. She looked like a person who is without morals, who will just destroy you if she gets the chance.
Mm-hmm.
And other secondary characters. I mean, you've got the Muscovites are more, both literally and figuratively, more colorful than the people of Femtopia, because they can do things and say things. Like, their musician is way cooler and more interesting than the Femtopia musician a lot of the time, although her music is more politically and interesting, but still. And you've got the Weasley sidekick, an amusing comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
Should have had more of him, just be the comic relief guy that gets beat up. And they should have had the grandpa and the punk granny, the hacker grandpa and the punk granny, finally reuniting after all these decades. That should have had more prominence as well. I mean, honestly, as far as character goes, they should have cut out the leads. And they should have had, or they can be like very minor, like give them a few minutes of screen time so that the middle-aged and old people can say, "Oh, look, our kids are getting along and making grandkids. This is nice." At some point, like you can just have that. But the show really should have been about the Baron, the Femtopia ruler woman, the hacker guy, and the punk granny. And those are the four, and they're with their hangers on, like those, they're colorful, interesting people. Those were the funnest, most colorful characters on there. And I don't know, maybe they're just drawing on some differences in Russian culture from Western culture, which I'm more used to. But I just enjoyed them, and they were really good, and they should have stuck with them and fired their leads. So there we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found the main male lead. He gets better when he gets a little bit more mature. But God, he was so gormless in the beginning. And I wonder if this is something that isn't like there's literary tropes, Russian literary tropes that make this stuff make a little more sense to them, that we're not appreciating. You know, it's too bad we don't have Remy's to tell us. Okay, so we did character, we did plot.
Our pocket Russian.
How about theme?
I'm sensing in the theme some anti-feminism.
Yeah, there does seem to be. They definitely are highly critical of feminism, and I think that there's a very strong theme of reconciliation between men and women. Although I will point out that the one woman who had any spine dealing with men was the crazy hair grandma, who I suppose would be in feminist parlance the pick-me. Because she was the only one who was like completely
Absolutely.
unfazed by all the men going like this, grr, grr, grr. And she was like, yeah, shut up.
Did you admire her for being so much braver than you would be in that situation?
I would be pissing myself.
Oh yes, out of terror. Let's believe that.
Yeah, out of terror.
But one big theme on this is also true love. For most of the first season, all of the ills, the psychological ills that the people in Femtopia are experiencing, we see that their lives are hollow and empty, and that they mostly involves like yoga and biking and taking social points away from each other. And the thing that they're missing is true love. Really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or at least
That's the
something
entire first series.
something to occupy their time. Considering
Something that has a point. That
has
some
purpose, meaning.
value, as opposed to, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, theme, don't do dialogue. Okay, tone. Tone, good.
Wait, there was one thing I wanted to add.
To theme. Okay, go ahead.
So I think that this show is actually concerned a bit with the idea of fairness. Like, you see it in a few different ways. The conflict between the primates and the Femtopians broadly is about this, with the primates living in almost at complete squalor, while the Femtopians live in this hyper-advanced society. But it also shows up in other ways, too. Like, there's one episode in season 2 when, like, one of the grand matriarchs comes to the city, meets the primates, and the Baron calls her out on thinking that the women are so much better than them.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, there's the homicidal AI that displaces the blame of the city mother's own corruption onto the primates. So that's a recurring theme throughout the series.
Mm. Yeah. Okay, repeat the theme again. Sorry.
Fairness.
Fairness. Ah, my mind just went on a squirrel hunt. No, yeah, fairness. Specifically, unfairness when it comes to the way the women are dealing with things. Okay, so shall we go to theme or tone? Because anything more on theme?
Well, I suppose the social credit system could also kind of play into that fairness thing because, as you guys pointed out, it's incredibly unfair. You can take away 20 points in one day, but only add one a day.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And how incredibly corrupt and lopsided that is, and so easy to abuse, but no one ever really addresses it.
And also, this is the really crazy thing. The social credit points are how you buy things. So how you get like colors to your outfits, how you get new outfits, how you get a
Right
bicycle.
to have children.
The right to have children. So they've constructed as this system is it's a system in which offense destroys your social standing and your ability to buy stuff. So if you offend people, you are going to suffer from a lower standard of living. And even if you please certain people, like if you offend some people but you please other people, the offense counts more than the benefit that you're giving others. And that's a system in which it's basically weaponizing women's sense of offense against their achievement. Like it's a literal representation of a bucket of crabs. I'm like, wow, that's like there are these moments in this show where you're like, whoa, are they watching our show? Are they watching Honey Badger Radio? Did they read my work on Gender Attic? Did they read the work that I did on I actually did a whole section on how we portray men and women in fiction and like these hidden tropes that nobody really addresses on TV tropes. It's called the Gender Dynamics Index. I mean, did they read that? Because this looks like a lot of the stuff that we would talk about. And like offense literally does, it's like the inverse of a currency in their world. You can absolutely destroy someone just by being offended. And or
Finding a way to be offended.
or saying that you're offended. Okay? And even if that person, like people like that person, they can't save them. You can't be saved by somebody's appreciation for you. You can only be destroyed by their offense. Like I said, bucket of crabs, but a literal representation of a figurative bucket of crabs. Or a, not a literal representation, because that would be a bucket of crabs. But you know what I mean? It's like they're taking the concept behind a bucket of crabs and they're constructing a social system around it. Around the idea that women can destroy other women, destroy their standing, and pull everyone down. That's probably why there are so few children. Like, nobody can have kids because they can't afford them, because the instant they offend someone, they lose like what, a month's wages? Anyway, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
But we were talking about tone, right? Or are we still on theme?
I think we went back to theme just now, but we were trying to talk about tone.
We're striving to talk about tone. What do you guys think about tone?
With regard to the comedy, it can be kind of hit or miss. Like there's some, like one thing that always made me laugh was the salute to the primates. If you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So the salute to primates is an example of them doing comedy right, because it's just so over the top. Like they get a crowd of women to march to come together, turn around and bend over, and there's just like this heroic music playing in the background. Like it's pitch perfect. But then you have other stuff like some of the scenes between like Rada and Gerda about their sex life that I think are supposed to be comedic, but just come off as really, really wrong. Largely because Rada, either because of her actress or the writing and directing, just comes off as so cold.
Yeah.
Well, they chose an actress who was flat in almost every single way, unfortunately.
Ironically, that makes her one of the most consistent characters.
True enough.
Yeah, but I mean, a cardboard box is consistently the same on every side, but it's not very interesting to look at.
Oh, here
Well,
we
I award you 1 point social credit point for that.
and here we discover that Telemnar likes big booty Latinas. Or maybe I shouldn't specify an ethnicity. Okay, so
I was poking a little fun at her build, but that can also be great justice, in case any more petite ladies are listening to this, which is incredibly unlikely. But no, I was genuinely not thinking, when I did the cardboard box thing, I was genuinely not thinking this was plunging me deeper into the whole flat in every way thing. I was genuinely just going for a cardboard box, is boring, no matter how you look at it, analogy, and then I just realized, oh, yes, I wasn't in the gutter, but they were.
for once. Okay, so tone, I think there's some inconsistencies. Honestly, like I just let it go because, again, to me it's sci-fi comedy and it's just ridiculous. I'm not going to judge it too harshly. I think it makes some good points. It has some good singers, but it's just it like literally they're running on rule of funny and rule of entertainment. If it's entertaining, do it. Doesn't matter if it's not character consistency. There's no character consistency. Okay, so the question before the court, the important question: is this a realistic depiction of a feminist utopia? I mean, despite the zaniness.
Wouldn't the other question be, what is Telemnar's opinion on the tone?
Oh, okay. What is Telemnar's opinion on the tone?
All right, thank you. I'm going to be a little harsher than you, because if your rule is, look, whatever's entertaining and whatever's funny, we'll just do that. Okay, fine, but there's a massive amount of whiplash between, there's this special farting chamber that deploys and sucks your fart away with fans, because we don't allow people to fart in public, to we literally have sex slaves whose tongues we cut out and genocides that we intend on carrying out. Like, that's just way too much tonal whiplash. It's like, you can still have them shown as being decadent and a bit evil without going to that extreme.
Yeah.
So just like, too much tonal whiplash for me. They could have toned it down and kept it just lighthearted. Look how silly all these people are. I would have liked it better. And you can still have some darkness, but like, wow, a little too far there.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
The strange thing about the show is that it does seem to handle both comedy and drama well enough when it commits to either one. But as you pointed out, it just veers so far from one to the other and doesn't manage to walk a decent line between either of them.
Yeah. It's too bad, because it had some really pointed, absolutely cutting commentary about, as we say, the femtopia and how it would go, and if they'd committed to that and they'd just done more, or kept to work out a complete set of consequences for realizing the place runs off slavery, or something like that, some major realization, instead of just going back to square one where they're living in basically
I think they wrote themselves into a corner and then just said, "Oh, you blah, blah, blah. Don't look at that.
We'll unhappen that.
We'll unhappen that. That didn't happen.
We'll go back to living in the land of the Teletubbies."
Mm-hmm. I'm just like looking back up over where you're saying, "Oh, I don't understand why you can't hear me." I'm like, how is it that Void Cat always manages to hit buttons that cause the most shenanigans? I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess it might
instincts.
Or alternatively, it's a survivorship bias. I don't notice until she does hit a button that causes the most shenanigans.
It is true. But I believe it's an aptitude for chaos. And you know what they say, cats are just little women in fur coats.
Okay. All right. So, realism, is this a realistic depiction of a feminist utopia? Silence. Okay, I would say
Doughboy does not seem to be going, so I will go.
go ahead.
And then Direhawk can go, of course, or you can go. Um,
There is no
well,
Direhawk. There is
not
only Zool.
yes, yes, he's been subsumed. Uh, so strictly speaking, realistic, no, it's definitely an exaggeration, but it's an exaggeration of traits that are so um what is it? It's an exaggeration of traits that are very much present, and it exaggerates them very intelligently, considering that it has fart jokes and people attaching vacuums to penises to extract semen and stuff like that. Like it doesn't just have people like it's not comedy that's just people getting in ridiculous situations and making crazy faces and getting covered in disgusting fluids and other people going ew gross and then laughing at them. It's very much a satire. It really and it's the best kind of satire when it is a comedy and it's when it's good satire, which is satire that pokes fun at very real aspects of society that are sometimes maybe things that we can't talk about seriously or find difficult to talk about seriously, like the social credit system in general, or uh, women's tendency to just have endless meetings about things and uh, put off decisions and just tend to be fake nice to each other all the time, or become resentful because some other woman made her feel lesser by being better at her than something, and the show this causes the removal of social points, for instance, and the whole I mean and even on a large scale, the fact that the whole thing runs well, number one, runs off of slave labor and exploitation and unfair treatment, and number two, that behind the scenes there are some shady people doing some shady things that none or very few of the women are aware of. That is this is some very deep satire when it wants to be, and it's too bad that they couldn't just keep going. I mean, maybe season three will be different. Maybe we'll be really impressed if we watch it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. But it's, I would say that it's in many ways some very perceptive, very um, cutting satire. So something the kind of thing that we couldn't see on a large scale in the West, I think, given what they're poking fun at. You'd find it on YouTube or something like that, but you wouldn't find it um, like you wouldn't find something like this on Netflix, and this is
No.
broadcasting on the Russian equivalent of Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's no way you'd find this on Netflix. Absolutely not. Okay, Doughboy, did you have anything to add about whether or not this is a realistic depiction of a feminist utopia?
In some ways, I do think it is. Like, the fact that the men are actually still running everything, even though the women are nominally in charge, does kind of remind me of this story I read once. It was about a village in Egypt called, I think it was El Samahara, I believe, where there technically, last time I checked it out, there were no men living there, but they were laborers who did jobs to like help keep running the village. So that element of it strikes me as being very realistic.
El Samaha, the Upper Egyptian village where no man is allowed. That means it's in the south of the country, by the way. So yeah, there we go. Yes, there was actually uh, the security of the village is handled by a police station and guards who guard the village in the evening. It doesn't specify whether they're men or women, so I think that means they're men. Um, yeah, there we go.
So, are you done, Doughboy? Or did you have anything more to
No,
say?
I did. I think the other thing I wanted to point out was something that we discussed in the back in the themes with fairness and the social credit system. Like, it really is a good representation of women's in both their relational aggression tendencies, as well as excuse me, the issue of relational aggression, and just how how do I want to put it? Like, I believe Brian has mentioned on the podcast that social media is very much a female-centric thing, and you see them resort to a lot of this sort of purity spirals that destroy the community after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that element of it does strike me as being realistic, and the social credit system and the way that the normal women fear the city mothers and the city mothers fear like the grand matriarchs does also remind me of that element of it, but also something I've heard about, which is that women in the workplace don't like having female bosses because they often don't suppress those relational aggression tendencies very well. Like, it has an element of that to it.
Yeah. I think it has a lot of statements. I think it's interesting that these women aren't actually responsible for their maintaining their world. We find out that it is in fact tech bros who are doing the infrastructure that maintains everything. And what the women are doing is playing relational games, biking, and protecting beetles from devastation, and worshiping Greta Thunberg. So that was an interesting statement. I think it would be very accurate. And I think also, again, the social credit store really demonstrates that bucket of crabs. I think that there isn't necessarily enough actual violence, sexual violence, but I mean, this is a comedy, so they only depict it towards men. But realistically, now this society is supposed to be chaste, so I don't know if there are any lesbians in it, but realistically, there would be a lot of violence among those relationships. And I don't like, having women in an all-female space does not stop that, essentially, and that's not depicted at all. But it is a comedy.
Russia censors homosexual content very fiercely compared to the West.
Okay, fair enough. It is. I would say that I don't think it goes far enough into the darkness to be truly realistic, but then it's a comedy. I mean, it does with the men, but it doesn't, and I guess a little bit with the women, because some of the women who end up having completely like a zero social score end up in slave labor camps. So I guess it is there. Maybe the problem is that it isn't treated with the weight necessary to really feel the impact of it. It's just glossed over as comedy. But then again, maybe that's the only way they could depict something like that, is just in a comedic way. It's there, but it's not really given that kind of weight to make it feel more realistic. Because if it was, then the character of the previous ruler of Femtopia would be completely like a complete monster. And she is a complete monster, but because, it's a comedy and the stakes are a little bit lighter, she doesn't come across as a complete monster. She's just sort of a hilarious villain. So yeah, I think that it has really good observations. I think by nature of its medium, like the fact that it's a comedic kind of piece, I don't think it can really be completely. It can't be completely spot on. All right, tell him, Nar, you were able to speak on the issue of whether or not you feel like this is a realistic portrayal of a feminist utopia, did you?
Yep, I went before Doughboy.
Okay, good. So I didn't miss you. So now I'm worried about that. All right. Okay.
I will always snarkily remind you when that happens. Have no fear.
Okay, so I don't know. Let's give it a number out of 10, or a grade. How well does it depict feminist utopia as a dystopia, basically? I'd give it like a B. What about you guys? pretty good.
Yeah,
I would. Go ahead, Doughboy.
I was actually inching more towards B minus just because I think Allison is right in that it doesn't go far enough, but the comedic tone and the Russian censorship laws might have something to do with that.
Mm-hmm. So B minus, B, what do you think, Telmnar?
I'm actually going to disagree a bit. I'm going to give it an A because I think that they didn't follow the consequences of their insights in the plot, which is really too bad. We objected to that already. But everything from the funny little details to the overall idea of how it works with the social credit system and the hidden, real, actual work being done that they don't have to know about, all that stuff.
Being done by men, yeah.
Yeah, and some female prisoners. I'd be fair here, but um, the just is so insightful and such excellent satire, and just so rare to see. And so I would have to give it, like, honestly, an A. Yes, it's limited by the fact that it's trying to be a comedy, but you always, I mean, no matter what, it's always going to be imperfect in some way. So I just have to be generous and say and give it the two badger paws up. It's an A for me.
Okay. Well, I mean, B is mostly two badger paws up. I fair enough. Like, yeah, for what it is, I think it's a really tight critique of feminist utopia, and it does present feminist utopia as like this saccharine world that is a completely hypocritical space that engages in all kinds of depredations and harms, and then lies about it to itself. So yeah, I think it gets it spot on. It depicts a feminist utopia as functionally a massive dystopia. And it does it, even if it does it in a lighthearted way. All right, so I'll check and see if we got in. I don't think we got any super chows or super chats. If you guys want to make a comment, now is the time. feedthebadger.com/super, or sorry, feedthebadger.com/just-the-tip. I don't see anything. I don't know if something is stuck in the streams. I can't check on this computer. I could check if you guys want to. Do you guys have anything additional that you want to add about the second season of No Man's Zone? Any other thoughts? That's something that comes to mind about anything that you didn't cover about character or plot or theme or how well it. Go ahead, Doughboy.
Yeah, there is one thing, and I think I spoke with Talumnar about this before the show. It seems to have an aversion to killing off anyone, no matter what, like the evil city mother or Ulick. He gets struck by lightning that was purposely caused by the homicidal AI, and he still comes back in the finale, perfectly alive and well, but seemingly with amnesia. And I'm sure that Rada and Gira should have died like 10 times over. So the stakes on this show are very low because it doesn't really want to commit to some of those darker elements, which include character death.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's basically a part of the light tone, I suppose, light and zany tone that they're trying to keep. Okay, well, thank you, Doughboy. Anything final thoughts, Telmnar?
I don't think that I have much to add in terms of the writing, aside from one thing actually, which is that I did enjoy the Schwarzenegger references they stuck in the second season. Someone on the writing team was clearly a fan, or maybe it was the director. Who knows?
Yeah, they were
Those
good.
were fun.
Yeah, they were fun. All right, so this has been the episode of Why Did You Write That on the second season of No Man's Zone, which is a Russian take on a feminist. I guess we can call it a dystopia. Let's just be honest, it's a dystopia, and it's fairly well rendered for what it is. It's lighthearted, but it's still pretty biting in its satire of the kind of world that women would create, particularly feminist women. So I want to thank Telmnar for joining, and Telmnar and Doughboy for joining me. and helping me go through this and watch this and sharing their thoughts on what they like and what they dislike and how everything played out in the storytelling. And if you would like to support the show, actually, we're putting on an event September 13th, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And if you want to support us doing that event, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/events. That's feedthebadger.com/events. Yeah, if you want to send a message after the show is over, feedthebadger.com/justthetip is the way to do that. Thank you for your kind attention, and have a lovely evening, afternoon, whatever you are, wherever you are. See you in the next one. And now I have to find the button.